that as much as they hate the SEC and how much they say they love college football is their religion. They own college football, and they're loud and they're rude and they think they're the best and they pound their chest. And as much as Ohio State fans dislike everything about those SEC fans, Ohio State as a fan base has way more in common with Alabama, Georgia, and Tennessee than they do with Iowa, Penn State, and Wisconsin. I'm a believer that this team's going to win the national championships. The rivalries, it's up there on top of the list, man. And if we allow them to devalue it, we lose a lot of what makes college football special. Don't let them do it. Don't let them devalue what it means to you. And welcome in. It's your friend JUCK. Appreciate you so much for joining me on a Friday. There are 18 teams now in the Big Ten for the second year in a row. And the inequity between Big Ten schedules, it's just, I don't know how you solve this. We got the win totals have come out from Las Vegas. And because the win totals have come out, I was going through everybody's schedule. Michigan, for instance, not just bringing them up because I can't stand them, also because it's a prime example of what I'm talking about here. When I did my Big Ten power rating, right? In my Big Ten power rating, Michigan doesn't play a single one of the top 4 teams in the power rating. Ohio State plays 2. Michigan only plays 2 of the top 8 teams in my power rating. In my power rating, not going to be much different from most. I'll take you through their schedule. You may reevaluate how many games you think those guys are going to win after you see this thing. Nebraska got themselves a gift. Oregon, for the second year in a row in the Big Ten, quite a pleasant schedule for them. Indiana. There's people looking at Indiana's schedule saying it's not going to be so easy for Indiana this year. And it's true. Won't be as easy as last year. But of their 9 conference games, 6 of their opponents are in the bottom half of my Big Ten power ratings. So while I can't wait to see what they do against some of their tougher opponents, there's a whole lot of gravy on there, man. I've also got a rant I've got to go on today. Somebody's going to get it. And I got a pretty unpopular opinion, I think, that I just got to share about Ohio State, about us as a fan base. So we'll get to that. But first, I want to start here. On Wednesday night, I got some people mad at me, and I have an apology that I need to make. So here's what happened. Xavier Griffin decommitted from USC. And we found out shortly after he decommitted that Alabama and James Laurinaitis had recently visited him. And then 4 official visits were announced for Xavier Griffin, and Ohio State was one of them. So this tricky Laurinaitis, none of us even knew that he was in on this kid. He was never on Ohio State's board, been committed since July to USC. And boom, just like that, Ohio State's in on him. Now, outside of obviously CJ Sana, who's committed, you've got Sincere Johnson, Tyler Atkinson on the board, as well as Jacob Eberhardt from Missouri, a top 300-ish guy. But that's kind of where it ends. There's not really a whole lot of backup options outside of those guys. Now, I think that Sincere Johnson is going to be in the class, and I feel pretty good about Tyler Atkinson. Not great, but adding Xavier Griffin into the mix is enormous for a couple of reasons. Number one, myself, like most Ohio State fans, I hadn't really spent a whole lot of time checking him out because he's been committed to USC for so long and wasn't on the Buckeyes board. He's a freak, a total freak. Now, Atkinson, outside of him, he was kind of like remember Justin Hill in the class of 2025? If you didn't get him, there was nothing else like him. Like you weren't getting anything like him. It was a boom or bust. You either get Justin Hill or there's nothing else like him in the class. Atkinson, in my mind, was the same deal. It was boom or bust. You either get this freakazoid in Tyler Atkinson or you're getting nothing else like him. Xavier Griffin is another one like him, and he's another one like him that's on the Buckeyes board. In addition, it also kind of throws a little wrench into the Georgia situation, right? The kid's from Georgia, like Atkinson, but he didn't grow up wanting to be a dog. He grew up originally from Alabama, and he's an Alabama fan. Now, Bama will be in on this, but so will Georgia. He's going to visit Georgia this weekend. It just kind of muddies the waters with the whole Atkinson situation. Maybe they see him as a viable backup plan and they, go that direction. Or maybe they go the Atkinson direction and Ohio State ends up with Griffin. Either way, get me one of these guys. I view them as 1A and 1B. One of those dudes, and we're looking real nice, especially with Sincere and CJ Sana. Like, it's amazing. So another potential freakazoid. And I was excited about this. So I put out a video, little 10-minute video. I knew I was going to talk about it in the show Thursday morning, but I wanted to get this out right away. So I did. And in that video, the title of it, I put something like USC, 5-star USC decommit, Buckeyes in the fold, and didn't really think twice about it. To me, it in the fold, or the Buckeyes are in it for him in the recruitment. And a lot of people were very irritated with me and said so in the comments, some of them in a not so nice way, that I was intentionally misleading people to make them think that I was saying he committed to Ohio State, but really I was just playing a word game to get them to click on the video. And after reading it and evaluating what they were saying, I understand where they're coming from. So I apologize for that. If anybody thought I was attempting to trick them to get them to come and watch that video, that's not the way I operate. I think that that's a really, really bad strategy. It works for some people. I don't know how. I don't even know how. Like, I see some people's headlines and I'm like, have you no shame? You know what I mean? Like, it just kind of feels like that to me. Feels gross. Not something I would ever want to do. As a viewer, like, I feel like if you intentionally mislead me, I'm not coming back to watch your stuff. And it just seems like a really poor strategy to try to gain trust with your audience, which is my number one priority. I want to put on a good show and I want to gain trust. I think it's just really short-sighted to do that. So definitely not my intention. And if you also were someone who thought that I meant that he committed, I apologize for that poor choice of words by me. Certainly was not intentional, but I wanted to get that out right off the rip before we move on, and we will do so now. The other day, I told you that I had a source that told me Ross Bjork was trying to work with Fox to get the game against Texas moved off of the noon slot. Probably nothing going to come of that because he has no leverage. Today in Bucknuts, the same thing. They said Ohio State, an anonymous source, Ohio State pushing for the game to most likely be moved tonight. Only so much they can do, but big hitters are trying to make a point to Fox that enough is enough. Now, when he says big hitters, I take it to mean Ross Bjork and maybe Ted Carter, maybe Coach Day, several people. It's probably not going to work, but I think that now that they are getting the enough is enough feel to them, let them know that, like, they've had enough of this. You know, you mentioned home field advantage. You look at Death Valley at night, Virginia Tech at night, Penn State at a whiteout at night. These are differences in point spreads with Vegas. I mean, they actually equate to points, and that's serious. So whether you don't care about the atmosphere, prefer to watch the game at noon, or don't think it affects recruiting much, it definitely affects the real line of the game. So I think it's a big deal. I think it's a big deal beyond recruiting. It is interesting, though, now that it's gone kind of nationwide. I'm listening to, other folks on the national scene talk about how Ohio State and Ohio State fans should feel about this, which always really irritates me when anyone tells somebody else how they should feel. But they're telling Ohio State that they should be happy. They're getting the appropriate share of the deal and they signed the deal, etc. The irritation is that Ohio State is carrying 50% of the big noon kickoffs in an 18-team league and only getting 1/18th of the cut. I think it's more if you break it down because the new guys aren't getting a full cut. At least Oregon and Washington aren't. But you understand what I mean. Of course, Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State have always primarily shouldered the deals, that the TV deals. The rest of the conference just isn't as valuable. And the rest of the conference gets their equal cut on the backs of Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State. And then, for the longest time, they didn't reinvest it in football to try to make their football programs better. We're seeing them invest now, schools like Illinois, Indiana, Northwestern. So it's good. It's better. But that very reason was a lot of the reason why I could not stand the Big Ten for a long time. But I think Fox better wake up. They better wake up, or the next contract, they're going to have a very angry Ohio State ready to tell them to pound salt. And that's why I like the fact that Ross Bjork and the higher ups have gotten across to them at least like, hey, we're done with this. You cannot keep saddling us with everything. Even though they have no leverage now, if Fox is looking forward at that next deal, that next round of negotiations for this Big Ten deal, they're going to want to throw Ohio State a couple of bones from now to then. Of course, we saw the goofy politician, Tex from Youngstown, try to get a bill passed that obviously is just a phony bill to get his name in the news, just like the guy who tried to do it with the flag planting. That guy was a little more embarrassing than Tex, but I just cannot stand when these local politicians try to get their name out and use Ohio State football as a way to do it. It's very obnoxious to me. Ohio State commit Blaine Bradford, 5-star out of Louisiana, maybe the most shocking commit we've had in several years, right? Kid's brother goes to LSU. He's from a feeder school. When he was narrowing down his list and he had Ohio State on there, I thought so little of this happening that I wasn't even talking about it on the show because it was just such a pie in the sky dream that this guy would come to Ohio State. And somehow Matt Guerrieri got it done. But when he committed, a lot of people were drawing, comparisons to Naeem Offord from Auburn, who eventually, of course, flipped to Oregon. But before Naeem Offord flipped, he was treating Ohio State like they were like third on his list. Visiting Auburn constantly, but he lived close to Auburn. Visiting Alabama constantly, but he lives close. But he was also taking more trips to Oregon than Columbus. So it felt like Ohio State was a third place, maybe fourth place in the recruitment while he was committed. Now, people were bringing up some interesting questions at the time. Like, when is enough enough? Because you're in a sticky situation with a guy like that. You're in a sticky situation because you've got Devin Sanchez and Naeem Offord, the number 1 and the number 2 cornerback in the country, committed in your class, which means you can't bring anybody in to kind of hedge your bets here. If Offord flips, nobody's going to join because nobody wants to be in a class. 2 cornerbacks start. That you got the 2 best in the country. I'm not joining that class to play with those 2 guys. Okay. So what do? You need Offord to leave, or you need him to be totally locked in. When is enough where you say to the kid, I need you to quit taking visits now and show us that you're committed to us? I think that's what we just saw Lincoln Riley do with Xavier Griffin. Xavier Griffin, who decommitted from USC. Xavier Griffin was taking visits. He said it for about a month now. He was taking took 6 different visits during the spring. And he said that this decommitment was coming for about a month. And I think Lincoln Riley got to the point where he didn't want to be stuck in that position, 5-star linebacker, having an issue bringing in other people. So he told him it's either commit and quit taking visits outside of your officials, or we'll just part ways. And they parted ways. Do we think that's the proper way to do that? Probably case by case, but I think in the Offord situation, it might have been wise to do that looking back. And, you live and learn. The other thing about the Offord situation that I think was different than the Bradford situation is the Offord commitment was a total shocker. It was a surprise. He committed in Ryan Day's office. His dad didn't even know he was going to do it. And when someone makes an impulsive decision like that, the odds of them changing their mind are much greater than if it's a well thought out, announced decision like Blaine Bradford's was. But valid points worthy of conversation. It is of note that Blaine Bradford has shut down his recruitment, and Blaine Bradford is only taking 1 official visit. That'll be to Ohio State.
Yeah, I'm only taking 1 official visit to Ohio State. I've seen it a lot in just people. I never really understood why people committed and still took visits. I feel like if you commit, you're committing for a reason. You're committing because you're really selling yourself to that school. And I feel like it would just be disrespectful for me to go out there and take other visits.
Obviously, there's still a long way to go until signing day. But I thought from the very beginning that Bradford's family reminded me of in the way they were talking and just the way they are, the Sanchez family, and then the Pettijohn family after Riley committed to Ohio State. They just feel like those same type of folks, man. And, mom and dad, very involved. together. It just felt like the same type of deal. And I think Bradford ends up in this class. I think Matt Guerrieri is an absolute ace. And if he can pull Womack, Bradford, and Simeon Caldwell, the dude is an absolute legend. An absolute legend. All right, let's get to the on 3 top 100 players in college football list. At number 1, which now means I think he's unanimous in everybody's list because we've been over like 4 of these, Jeremiah Smith. The weirdest thing is, JJ's obviously number 1. Everybody acknowledges that. Caleb Downs has been number 2 in a couple of these lists, but I think I've seen him at the number 3 spot more than any other number. So you got Jeremiah 1, Caleb 3. But here's the interesting thing. The number 2 guy isn't the same. It's not like people have the same 1, 2, 3. The number 2 guy changes, and it makes me think people are uncomfortable putting Jeremiah and Caleb 1, 2. But they are. Who's number 2? Dylan Stewart. Dylan Stewart, edge rusher, South Carolina, just completed his freshman year. Like Jeremiah, Dylan Stewart, like Jeremiah, should have been a Buckeye. Well, Jeremiah is a Buckeye, but Dylan Stewart, not a Buckeye. If he was, how much different would we be talking about Larry Johnson? I was thinking about that earlier. Ohio State won the recruitment for Dylan Stewart. You've heard me talk several times about, in the moment, getting annoyed when Ohio State won't budge. They won't come off their number to win a recruitment, even though they've done everything to win. In the old system, it would have been a victory. In the new system, you get down to that final step and they let a guy walk. How differently would we be talking about Larry Johnson? Because now Larry Johnson is looking at a superstar that he brought in, and you've got Edric Houston, a potential budding superstar, and a great evaluation in Caden McDonald. And I think things start to look a little bit differently. As it stands, did not win the recruitment because Stewart's gone. But did he actually win it? I think he did. I'm not one to, just stick up for Larry. And sometimes these things even out. Yeah, sure, Ohio State's won plenty, with the money or being the higher bidder, particularly in the portal. Which is honestly, guys, I don't give guys a whole lot of credit for winning recruitments out of the portal. It's basically all about the contract. These guys, they look for the best opportunity. Can they play? How much money? And that's what it is. So, I'm not patting Keenan on the back too much for Max Clare. I pat Keenan on the back for a lot, but Max Clare is like, yeah, he wanted to go to Ohio State. That was pretty clear. Larry for Atkinson, Justin Fry for Anyanwa or Philip Daniels. Like, they saw an opportunity, they got paid for it. It's much different coming out of high school to me. But I think we'd be looking at Larry a lot different if Dylan Stewart were on this roster. Larry getting kind of crushed right now. Waiting to see how this defensive line haul comes in. He's certainly got a lot of guys on the board, and if he can win out on some of them, we're going to feel a whole lot better. But back to the top 100 list. At number 4, you got Colin Simmons, another freshman, which means, last year freshman. Colin Simmons, Dylan Stewart, Jeremiah Smith. 3 guys, the top 3 of the top 4 players in the country just finished their freshman year, which is pretty doggone impressive. Obviously, you got Ryan Williams in this top 10 as well. That's another one, wide receiver from Alabama. At number 5 on this list is Sam Leavitt, Arizona State's quarterback. At number 7, Leonard Moore from Notre Dame, pretty high for him. At number 8, Lenoris Sellers, South Carolina. 2 players in the top 10. At number 9, Anthony Hill Jr., that's 2 for Texas. But here's why I bring this up. Now, number 10, Arch Manning. That's 3 players for Texas in the top 10. Arch Manning is number 10. My dude Anthony is going to freak out when he hears this. Anthony, in the comments, pushes back anytime somebody says something good about Arch Manning. But seeing him at number 10 in the country is bizarre. Now, I'm a believer that Arch Manning is going to be good, not because of his name, because he's a 5-star quarterback, number 1 overall, who was very good in high school, who has now sat in a good system for 2 years and learned and come in and played and developed some experience. He's very smart. He's big. He's athletic. He has a really good arm. And because of all those reasons, I believe he'll be a really good football player. But to have him at number 10, over number 11, Jeremiah Love, over number 12, DJ Lagway, 13, Peter Woods, whatever, we keep going on. 14, Garrett Nussmeier. It's insane. It's insane, and I am so sick of it. I understand that you're going to put him somewhere on the list, but to have him in the top 10 blows my mind. At number 15, LT Overton. Number 18, TJ Parker. So Clemson got 13 with Peter Woods, 18 with TJ Parker, and then they get their corner, Avion Terrell, at number 21. They got 3 guys in the top 21. They're the only ones that have that. Clemson defenders. We know they got an offense. That's 3 studs on defense. And Ohio State doesn't get their third till number 48 with Carnell Tate. So Clemson, I'm telling you guys, they're tough, man. They're in my top 4. I thought I was an outlier, and the more I see people's top 25s keep coming out, we're seeing people putting them in the top 2, top 1, and I can't disagree. I cannot disagree at all. The interesting thing is when the odds first came out, they were number like 11, and I hope you guys bet that. I did. I bet Clemson for the national championship, and we will get in to some over-under bets on some of these win totals. Last year, my bet of the year was Iowa over 5.5 wins, which of course cashed. It was the stupidest win total I've ever seen in my life. They easily won. They won 8 games. I had some people arguing with me about it. That was the lock of all locks, which of course. Who are your contenders in the Big Ten? Contenders for the conference? Contenders to make the playoffs? I did my Big Ten power ratings. Those power ratings aren't a prediction. Those power ratings are Washington's playing Nebraska. Who would I have favored? A prediction is going to include how good you are and how lovely your schedule is. And as we saw last year with a schedule like Indiana, it means a whole lot. And there's going to be a ton of variance in schedules when you got 18 teams in a conference. 9 conference games, 18 teams, whole lot of combinations. Some teams are going to get a real easy one. Some are going to get a much harder one. And I want to go over those win totals. But before I do, as an Ohio State fan for decades, Ohio State has been a program that I have been so proud to have always had the scheduling of a Big Ten schedule. And in addition to that, a big time out of conference game. Almost every year, Ohio State has played a big time out of conference game to start the season. Texas, Miami, Virginia Tech, Washington, Georgia coming up, Alabama, Texas again. Ohio State's always done it, and I've always loved it. And in a lot of years, it's been necessary because the Big Ten has sucked in a lot of years. Years where we would just look at the schedule to see when we play Penn State. We know when we play Michigan. And will we get maybe that third challenge in the Big Ten? Maybe Iowa or Wisconsin are having an up year. And that's it. And at the end of the year, when you are judging Ohio State's body of work, you need that big out-of-conference win a lot of times to boost your resume. I love out-of-conference games. As you know, I talk about it a lot because they're under attack. I also love rivalries. Last year at Big Ten Media Days, it was the first time we had the Pac-4 come to Big Ten Media Days. Obviously, USC, UCLA, Washington, Oregon, they were all there. And I did my show the day after that. Well, first I did one about Deshaun Foster's hilarious speech. Remember that? I did a show about that. But my next show was about Lincoln Riley and some comments that Lincoln Riley made about in the Notre Dame game, in playing the Notre Dame game. And I thought at the time, Lincoln Riley was setting up, canceling the rivalry game with USC and Notre Dame. He had a lot to say, man. He had a lot to say. And I feel like this dude is trying to, that's their biggest rival. And it sounds like he's going to try to get out of this game, just like he tried to get out of the LSU game this year that was scheduled, quite a bit in advance before they made the Big Ten move. Riley said of the rivalry, "I would love to keep playing it. I know it means a lot to a lot of people. The purist in you, no doubt. Now, if you get into the position where you got to make a decision on what's best for SC to help us win a national title, versus keeping that game, then shoot, you got to look at it. But if you get in those positions and you got to make a decision on what the priority is, it's not an easy answer. It's very clearly an easy answer for him. He just straight up told us. He definitely does not want to play Notre Dame anymore, just like he didn't want to play LSU this year. Now, I don't know how you feel about that game, but I come from a family with a lot of Notre Dame fans in it. Italian Catholic family, ton of Notre Dame fans. And maybe because of that, that rivalry has an outsized feeling to me. It's in every top 5 list as far as college football rivalries go. It's just a huge game to me. Talking about two blue bloods like Ohio State and Michigan, like Texas and Oklahoma, like Texas and like Oklahoma and Nebraska, which is gone now. And we just keep losing so many of these great rivalries. And it looks like, to me, after what Lincoln said last year, that he was setting up for this to go away. Well, now we found out that this ends in 26, the scheduling. So they got the game scheduled in 25. 26 is the last one on the books. Notre Dame went out and signed for 12 years to play Clemson for 12 years, home and homes. Did they do that because they anticipate SC cutting them out? Lincoln Riley's athletic director came out and talked about how much they got to travel now, being in the Midwest or coming to the Midwest for the Big Ten games. It's pretty apparent that SC does not intend to continue to play this game. They want to let one of the oldest, best rivalries in college football die because Lincoln Riley thinks it gives them an easier path to the playoffs, to a national championship. Never mind that we're getting automatic qualifiers and conference play is going to get you in the playoffs that way, which that Notre Dame game has no bearing on that. All it stands to do is help you get an at-large bid if you get a big out-of-conference win. It's all pluses. The only negative is wear and tear on your body. After that, it's all positives. Plenty of teams around the country we're going to see continue to play big out-of-conference games for that very reason. Lincoln, he's decided he doesn't care about the potential advantage. He just wants the easiest possible schedule. Some people will say he left Oklahoma because he didn't want to go with Oklahoma to the SEC. This dude cares so much about his legacy, how he's viewed by other people, how other coaches view him. He's got a massive ego. It's what drives him. He sees himself as one of the very best in the country. You could tell in the press conference when he was at Big Ten Media Days last year how annoyed he was at the line of questioning that he's not there yet with USC, that he hasn't, made the crest to bringing them back to prominence. Started making excuses about it. Look where Ohio State was when Ryan Day took over. Look where Oregon was when Dan Lanning took over. Man, is he scummy. He just gives me bad vibes.
Yeah, well, we are at the top of the Big Ten Conference. We're at the top of any conference. I don't ever look at ourselves below anybody, and I never will. Listen, 2 years ago, look where Ohio State and Oregon were 2 years ago. Look what they took over. Look what we took over. It takes time. I'm not a magician. I can't wave a magic wand and everything just be perfect right away. But find one area that we had to make progress. So this thing's got momentum. It's coming. Nothing's going to stop it. That's fine. They started at a different point. We'll see where it ends up.
Coach. But the USC's coming. Nothing's going to stop it. We take a backseat to no one. If you're a fan, I'm sure you like all that. But when you're pointing out these other coaches where the programs were when they took over and where SC was when you took over, it just makes you look like a whiny loser. And he did the same thing after all the losses he took last year. I watched every press conference, every one. And in every one, he said, we're one play away from being undefeated. Guys, he said this when he had 4 losses. We're just a couple of plays from being undefeated. Kept saying it. He's a pathetic loser, man. He is a whiny loser, and I can't stand him. And now he's going to duck out on one of the best rivalry games in the country and rob us and rob USC fans a top 5 rivalry in college football. And college football fans suffer. Those are the facts. What he's doing hurts the entire sport, and it's short-sighted. He stands to gain from the game. It's short-sighted. It's not even a smart move. And he's so selfish. I just can't stand him. I hate him so much. Have people done things like this before? Well, yeah. We saw Notre Dame do it with Michigan. And what did we do to Notre Dame? We crushed them. Everybody crushed them. We shamed them because that's what should be done to people who hurt college football for their own selfish game. Just like we shamed Matt Rule for what he did ducking Tennessee. You're going to be shamed by all of college football if you steal from college football and from the college football fan and the sport for your own personal gain. That's how it should be. Or what you think is your own personal gain, because you're not too smart in this situation. JUCK on Bucks let you know last week that a 16-team playoff, you stand to gain by keeping that game on your schedule. So would there be any possible reason any college football fan would say anything other than this guy just screwed us for his own personal gain? What possible reason would anybody stick up for Lincoln Riley in this situation? Would anybody? I would put forward, if anybody were to stick up for Lincoln Riley in this situation, that they are either a misguided USC fan. If I was a USC fan, I'd be furious. Or they're just someone who is blinded by conference loyalty, in this case, the Big Ten. Oh, USC! They're going to back the Big Ten coach, regardless of how wrong he is, regardless of all of us suffering, but only when the other team happens to be a non-Big Ten team, in this case, an independent in Notre Dame. And believe it or not, I watched a good friend of mine defend Lincoln Riley last night. And buddy, he had all the buzzwords. Don't fall for the ESPN attack narrative of Lincoln Riley. Here I am, put my ESPN shirt on. Notre Dame peeled out on Michigan. That was a justification we threw out there, that Notre Dame chose to not play Michigan. Yeah, Notre Dame did this, got smashed for it, as they should have been. And yes, Notre Dame doesn't play in a conference. There are massive scheduling benefits to that. Guess what? Everybody else can be independent if they want to as well. My dude even managed, in his defense of Lincoln Riley, to turn this somehow into an SEC doesn't play 9 games argument. The SEC is over here going, we got nothing to do with this, man. What's this guy talking about? He doesn't care. He made it happen. There are a lot of fans of Big Ten programs who have a sickness when it comes to the SEC after 2 decades of constantly being told they're inferior. And it is just immediate fight no matter what. Whatever comes up about the SEC, it's just this reflex, and they can't not do it. It's a sickness, man. I'm telling you, it's a sickness. I'm not a conference loyalist. I'm not a fan of a conference. I'm a college football fan, and I'm a fan of my favorite program. Ohio happens to be in the Midwest. Ohio State happens to play in the Big Ten because of that. There's a whole lot of fellow Buckeyes, my brethren, that are confused. They love the Big Ten. I mean, I cheer for the Big Ten for my own personal benefit. Let's say it's bowl season. I want the Big Ten to do good, because by the Big Ten doing good, it makes me look good. It makes our team look good. That's the only reason. For personal benefit. I don't give a damn about Iowa or Northwestern or Purdue. Are you kidding me? Not at all. It's all about me. It's self-serving. So no, I don't love the Big Ten, and I have no reason to love the Big Ten. And other Ohio State fans have no reason to love the Big Ten. In fact, of all the fan bases in the Big Ten, Ohio State fans have the least reason to love the Big Ten. They have more reason to dislike the Big Ten than anybody else. Talk about the Big Noon. The reason we're saddled with that is because everybody sucks. The Big Ten's never done anything for Ohio State other than take Ohio State's money that they bring in and not invested it into football, giving us the weaker schedule and the necessity to go out and play the big out-of-conference game and the weaker strength of schedule, not growing their brand, getting stuck being the guy that carries the torch for the entire conference over and over and over again. And in addition, as football fans, they all hate us. They all hate us, the ones who make it all possible. And it's 2025, and it blows my mind how few Ohio State fans have figured it out yet. That as much as they hate the SEC and how much they say they love college football is their religion. They own college football, and they're loud, and they're rude, and they think they're the best, and they pound their chest. And as much as Ohio State fans dislike everything about those SEC fans, Ohio State as a fan base has way more in common with Alabama, Georgia, and Tennessee than they do with Iowa, Penn State, and Wisconsin. Identical. As a fan base, as a program, a do-anything program that will adapt to whatever the rules are to try to win a national championship no matter what, there isn't a single Big Ten program that is like Ohio State. You can only find them in the SEC. The program, the fan base, Ohio State sticks out like a sore thumb in the Big Ten. We're the oddball that brings them all the money. There is no program with the championship pedigree like Ohio State in the Big Ten. Not one. And there's no other fan base in the Big Ten like Ohio State. The only comps are in the SEC. There used to be a couple in the Big 12, Texas, Oklahoma. Well, they're now in the SEC as well. And as much as Ohio State hates the SEC, they get us way more than the folks around us do. Does it mean I like the conference? No. No, I don't like them any more than I like the Big Ten. I like Nebraska fans the best. They're the nicest. They're the sweetest. Big Ten fans, when they come visit Ohio Stadium, man, they hate us. They think we're brash, we're loud, we're annoying, we're cocky. They can't stand us. They don't speak well of us. It is what it is. It's the same thing we say when we go visit an SEC stadium. And I just wish that some of my fellow Buckeyes would wake up with this Big Ten homerism. There is nobody in the Big Ten that cares a damn about us. We're on our own. I'd rather we were independent like Notre Dame. All right, we got to go over some schedules. I want to start with something really cool. So for one, Ohio State, the win total, 10.5, which means if you bet the over, you got to win 11 games. So you got to be 11-1 to cash the ticket for the over. In the Buckeyes schedule, Texas, Grambling, Ohio, that fourth game at Washington, I want to key on for a second here. So at Washington, Jed Fish takes over last year at Washington. He only has 2 returning starters from the national championship team, not national championship contending team of Kalen DeBoer's. He manages to win every single home game. And Washington has the second longest home winning streak in the country behind Georgia. Washington has won 25 straight home games. Now, to start their season at home, they've got CSU and UC Davis before they travel to Washington State. And then they welcome in Ohio State, which means Ohio State is going to head to Husky Stadium, and Washington is going to have a 27-game home win streak on the line when they play that game. Under the lights. It's going to be amazing. After that, Minnesota, who I think they won 7 or 8 games last year. They were pretty tough. Then the Buckeyes head out to Illinois. And this is really interesting. Illinois, in the Vegas win total, only 7.5. We'll go over that schedule in a minute. But I found that to be pretty odd. I think they're quite a bit better than that. Then the Bucks go at Wisconsin. So you travel to Illinois and to Wisconsin before you come home and play Penn State, but you get a bye week before Penn State. Then it's at Purdue, UCLA, and Rutgers at home before the game. So can the Buckeyes skate through this with only 1 loss? I think it all depends on Texas. If you win Texas, man, it's house money all the way through this thing. You're trying to go ahead and snag that undefeated season, but you have the opportunity to be able to win two mulligans with this growing young team. I love the way the schedule sets up. We've talked about that before. All right, let's go over this Michigan soft schedule. Number one, with this soft schedule, they've only got an 8.5 win total. 8.5. They start with New Mexico, then they go to Oklahoma to get mollywopped. John Mateer is going to stomp all over them. Brent Venables, they won't be able to do anything on offense in week 2. So they lose their first game at Oklahoma. Then they got Central Michigan. Then they go to Nebraska. That's loss number 2, in my opinion. Then they got Wisconsin at home. Then they go to USC. There's loss number 3. Then they got Washington at home. We'll give them that. Michigan State, Purdue, Northwestern, Maryland. Are you kidding me? What a stretch right there. Michigan State, Purdue, Northwestern, and Maryland. I mean, somebody's working for them in the Big Ten office. Then they finish with Ohio State for their 4th loss. And they go under the 8-5 and finish the season at 8-4. Penn State, 10.5 is their win total. Big games. Who do they got to play out of the really good teams? They've got Oregon, Ohio State, then they've got Indiana. They've also got Nebraska on there, can maybe give them a game. That's at the end of the season. And Iowa can maybe give them a game. But in order, it's Nebraska, FIU, Villanova. Come on, Penn State. Then they got Oregon in game number 4. Then at UCLA, Northwestern, at Iowa, at Ohio State. So Iowa going to butter them up before the Buckeyes get them. Then they got Indiana, at Michigan State, Nebraska, at Rutgers. And Oregon, also with 10.5. So they got to go 11-1, can only lose 1 game. Listen to this buttery soft schedule. Montana State, Oklahoma State, Northwestern, Oregon State. That's how they start. Montana State, Oklahoma State, Northwestern, Oregon State. So a full month warm-up before they play Penn State. They got to go to Penn State. That's a tough game. And right after that, they welcome in Indiana. And that's it. That's their schedule. They got Rutgers, Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota, USC, and Washington to end it. But yeah, I'm going over for sure. But here's Illinois' schedule, and this is crazy to me. 7.5 is their win total, which means you can bet the over and they can lose 4 games. Western Illinois, Duke, Western Michigan. Duke, decently tough, but they should be able to easily win that. So we're talking 3 wins right off the rip. Then they're at Indiana. Definitely they could lose. Then they got USC at home. Tough one there. Then they got Purdue. Then they got Ohio State. Then they've got Washington. At Washington. Rutgers, Maryland. At Wisconsin and Northwestern. So if they lose to Indiana, USC, Ohio State, and Washington, you still cash your ticket. The next best team they got, they're playing is Wisconsin after that. So I don't know. I don't understand here. This should definitely be 8.5. The fact that it's 7.5, this right here is the Iowa last year. Iowa was an easy over. Go ahead and bet Illinois. That's a guaranteed win. They're going to go over 7.5. Book that one, baby. USC's win total is just 7.5. Let's go through their schedule. They got things a little tougher, of course. They've got Notre Dame. So, Missouri State, Georgia South, Purdue, Michigan State. Then they've got at Illinois. So that's the first tough one. Then they've got Michigan at home, second tough one. Notre Dame at home, third tough one. Then at Nebraska. So that's a heck of a stretch right there. At Illinois, Michigan and Notre Dame at home, then at Nebraska. Tough stretch. Then they get a reprieve with Northwestern, get a little physically beat with Iowa. Then they go to Oregon and finish with UCLA. So big time teams, tough teams. They're playing Oregon, Notre Dame, Michigan, and Illinois. Pretty tough schedule. Pretty tough. I can see their 7.5. I cannot see Illinois 7.5. Indiana. Let's go over this one. We'll go over them, Nebraska, and Washington, and then we'll wrap her up here. Indiana, Old Dominion, Kennesaw State, Indiana State to start. Good on you, Indiana. Then they've got Illinois at home, which I think they're going to lose. They go to Iowa. They go to Oregon. They're going to lose to Oregon. They're going to lose to Illinois. That's 2 losses. Michigan State at home, UCLA at home, at Maryland, at Penn State. That's a loss. Wisconsin at home, Purdue at home. Okay, that's 9-3. I think they're going to go over 8.5. Unless Iowa beats them at Iowa, which can happen, I think they go over. Nebraska, 7.5. Now, Illinois and Nebraska, these are the 2 teams I'm on the over here. Nebraska, 7.5, which means we can lose 4 games and we still win. Cincinnati and Akron, and then Houston Christian. So Cincinnati, usually decent, but they're not going to beat Nebraska. So you've got 1, 2, 3 off the rip. Then they've got Michigan. Let's call that a loss. Just to say it's one of their tougher games. So we'll call that a loss. Then they got Michigan State at Maryland, at Minnesota. Win, win, win. Northwestern, win. Then they got USC. We'll call that a loss. UCLA, win. Penn State, we'll call it a loss. And then Iowa. And even if they lose, we still cash. So Nebraska at 7.5 and Illinois at 7.5. Easy money. Washington. Final one. They got CSU, UC Davis, Washington State before they play Ohio State at home. That's 1 loss. They're 7.5 as well. So that's 1 loss. Then they're at Maryland, win. Rutgers at home, win. At Michigan, loss. Illinois at home, loss. At Wisconsin, win. Purdue at home, at UCLA, and then they got Oregon. So that is 4 losses, but along with that 4th loss, I'm assuming that they beat Wisconsin. At Wisconsin's a tough trip from Washington, so not a safe bet there. But Nebraska and Illinois, those are our 2 safest in the Big Ten. And that's that with that. All right, friends, I am not going to read the comment section today because I got yelled at, man. I got yelled at on Wednesday night, and I said I'm sorry. It was an accident. Won't happen again. I'll be more careful. But that'll do us for today on a beautiful Friday. Please enjoy your weekend. If I don't see you, I may pop in for a live. Set those alarm bells. Make sure you like the show. Talk to you then. Juck and Bucks out.